Welcome to the process. It is Wednesday, May 26th. I had to give it a quick peek. I am Josh Engleman. I am here to break down today's 3-game NBA slate. It should be a good one. I'm digging the narrative structure of these 3 games, whether that's Atlanta and New York, both teams playing in a scenario where someone is going to move on to the next round of the playoffs, and that wasn't necessarily an expectation for either team, which I think is kind of fun. Wizards Sixers is probably just over, and then we get to the weird one. Grizzlies took game 1 against Utah. We will see how they bounce back for game 2. It's great to see everybody here. Got a lot of concurrent viewers, got a lot of good likes right out of the gate, so no complaints there. I appreciate y'all. What else we got coming into chat? Let's see. 4th in the pick and roll for Wood Piece. That's nice, man. Congrats. Harrison, congrats. Good stuff. Good stuff yesterday. I like it. Are the Clippers done? Probably not. But this is looking like a really good spot for Dallas, huh? It really is. They might just be cooked. And if they are, oh boy, what does that team look like next year? Who is on the Clippers if this series goes wrong? It's going to be crazy. It's a bummer for Phoenix. Doesn't look like Chris Paul is healthy. Don't know if he's going to be able to be healthy by the time they get to game 3. Not ideal. But if he's not available, that series is totally over. Anyway, I'm the only guy that is honest at Awesemo. I'll take that. But that's not true. Everybody else is honest. I will just say anything. First thing that comes to my mind. I'll say anything at all. That's for sure. Oh, well, we got 3 games. We haven't really looked at these games so far in the process show, so we're going to dive into that. So let's go ahead and do that. Please hit that like button as you get in the door. Subscribe to the channel. Hit the notification bell. All that good stuff. I've got my coffee. I hope that you do as well. If you don't and you have a water or a soda, a beer, shots, whatever you've got. Cheers to you guys. Rise and grind. Let's have a great morning. Let's get this nice and prepped. Let's get ourselves ready. Let's get the building blocks together for tonight. So cheers, everybody. Let's do this. Ooh, that's good. That's real good. I needed that coffee. I'm dragging. So got pretty banged up Sunday celebrating Liverpool qualifying for Champions League. I mean, real banged up. So didn't make it to the gym on Monday. I went yesterday instead. And boy, oh boy, that combination of the cocktails on Sunday and my lack of sleep and energy took a beating yesterday at the gym. So everything from the tips of my knees under my butt cheeks, that whole area is just it's not great right now. So that coffee is going to come in a very, very big way. Alrighty, let's do it. Atlanta Hawks, and this one should be relatively easy to plot out. We're going to say Clint Capella getting 34 minutes at the center spot. Okongwu didn't really play, and I don't really expect him to play. So we're going to go 14 minutes to John Collins at the backup 5 spot, plus another 20 minutes. We're going to get Trae Young in there for 36. Lou Will backing up for 12. We saw Kevin Huerter play 27 minutes in game 1. We probably also need to give Gallo his 24. That opens me up to go to DeAndre Hunter for, let's say, 24 for right now. Bogdanovich gets his 36. And then that opens me up to Kevin Huerter. So I think 28 minutes seems best there. And then we have 12 minutes left over. Does that go to Tony Snell? Probably. I think it probably does. So from a rate perspective, I don't think we're going to have all that much that we need to change here. But we do want to look at it nonetheless. So we know we want to take Reddish off because he's not fucking playing. Clearly. That dude's season has not existed. Guess we'll take Rondo off as well. I think once I set Trae Young, I think we're going to be okay across the board. No Reddish, no Rondo. You know what? I feel like I'm almost better putting Trae on, but he's not really playing the 40 minutes that really takes over the game. So I'm going to say Trae Young gets to 33.5 for the usage rate, a slight bump. And I'm guessing that everybody else is going to come pretty close to just neutral. Lou Will can stay there. Collins can stay where he's at. Clint Capella is probably the other guy that's a little low. So let's bump him up a bit. And I think the rest of that will be okay. We probably need to bump Bogdanovich a little too. 21.2 with those guys off. So I definitely need to come down a bit. Call it 20.5. That should work. All right. First team up, Atlanta Hawks. They are slight dogs in New York. No surprise there, really. If we're talking about value, I think Trae Young is probably at the top of the heap here. No surprises. $9K on FanDuel, $8,500 on DraftKings. $8,500 price on DK is pretty difficult to avoid. That's going to rank pretty high as we get through these 3 games. Clint Capella, $8,300 and $7,800 to me is the quite clear second best option coming out of Atlanta. I think both of those look really good. Collins is the wild card, $7K on FanDuel, $6,500 on DraftKings. Looks good. I'd say looks quite a bit better on DK at $6,500. And then Bogdanovich, $7,600 on FanDuel is a real tough sell. $6,900 on DraftKings is a little bit more in play. Why is he projecting as low as he is? That's a tricky question. I don't know. I don't hate it. Yeah, so Trae Young, Clint Capella, very clearly the top two. Collins, very obviously the third banana, and then Bogdanovich. It's really hard to advocate for anybody else here. Hunter, I guess, could fall into additional minutes at 4K. Maybe. I don't see it in Tony Snell. I don't see it in Lou Will. I don't really see it in Gallo, especially at 4,800. I think I would rather get to DeAndre Hunter there. I don't see a lot of pay down options coming out of Atlanta today. Then we move very far down the alphabet to Memphis. This should be at least a little bit easier to run out there. Now that we've got their game in play against Utah. So I think 38 minutes for Ja Morant at the point guard spot seems fine. Played monstrous minutes in the play-in games. Only needed 36 in the first one. Tyus Jones straight backup. Joval probably needs slightly more minutes. I'm going to give him one more. I'm going to get him to 35. Jaren Jackson. Honestly, his minutes are terrifying because they obviously want him to play more minutes. But at the same time, can he? I think 29 feels right. The goal will be for Jaren Jackson to play 30 minutes. Whether or not he does is a much bigger question that I'm not entirely sure I can answer. So I think 29 is just going to have to work. All right, there we go. We're back in it. Dillon Brooks is clearly going to be some 36-minute-a-game dynamo, or at least he's going to try to be. Grayson Allen was the guy that benefited most from the additional run. We had Allen at 22 minutes, Bane at 18, Melton at 13. So I am going to take some minutes away from Bane, get those back over to Grayson Allen. Not that I think that it matters all that much. The real priorities are going to be Morant, Brooks, Jackson, Joval, and Slow-Mo. Rates should all be pretty good. I don't think I'm going to have anything else that I need to really change here. I'm fine with what I see. So let's check out Memphis. Joval, 8,800 on FanDuel, 8K on DraftKings. But to me, the best option you can get from the Grizzlies, particularly for 8K on DraftKings, that's a better price tag than we just saw on Trae Young. Ja Morant, 8,200 on FanDuel, 8,100 on DK. Just looks like a guy you're going to want to have, not the full-on priority that gets to the top of the list, but clearly a 30+ percenter or somewhere in that neighborhood. Jaren Jackson's the question mark. 63 on FanDuel, 5,700 on DraftKings. If he does get to those 30 minutes, that becomes a very, very important play. Kyle Anderson is basically appropriately priced across both sites. 6K on DraftKings looks fine. Dillon Brooks at 7,200. I'm not sure you can get there with too much regularity on FanDuel. 6,300 on DraftKings, though, quite a bit better to get to Brooks. But FanDuel, Brooks isn't going to be that guy. Lots to like here from Memphis, though. I like Memphis a lot more than I was expecting to. I really didn't see that coming. I thought today they were going to look bad, and they might just get smiggity smacked. All right, so starting it off, first two teams, we want to get an idea of priorities. Joval, Trae Young, Capella, Morant, they are the top 4 guys on FanDuel, but Joe Val and Trae Young are sort of in their own tier. They are 100% in their own tier on DraftKings. 8K for Joe Val, 8,500 for Trae Young. Those two guys are like 4.5 points north of everyone else. So they are the priorities so far. Wow. We're already up to 101 viewers. So I have to ask this now. For the 60 plus of you that are here that have not yet hit that like button, what are you waiting for? If you're here and you're checking out this show, it's 6:45 a.m. I don't think I'm asking for a lot. If you guys could hit that thumbs up, that would be great. Subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell as well. Oh boy, I'm aching. Oh, I don't know if you guys are able to hear that crack, but man, it felt good. It felt real good. Let's see. Anything good in chat? Boob, I wish I did. I'd get paid a lot. All right, New York Knicks. This one should be a not fun one. Q tag on Nerlens Noel. What do we know? All right, well, I'm not going to be sweating this at all. So let's go ahead and do this. I think that we go with 27 minutes for Nerlens Noel, 21 for Taj Gibson. Obviously, straight out of the gate, we're going 40 to Julius Randle. I assume they continue to play. Now, they shouldn't. They shouldn't be playing Elfrid Payton at all. But by all accounts, it seems like that's going to happen. So I'm going to give Elfrid Payton 10 minutes. I think that we can get Derrick Rose to 32. I'm thinking we get quickly to 16 feels about right. And then 26 for Alec Burks, which would unlock 38 minutes for RJ Barrett. Oh no, I'm going to be way low. We're going to have to think this through. Who gets the backup 4 minutes? Somebody's getting a minutes haircut here. So Reggie Bullock played 18. That makes some sense to me. I don't think that Reggie Bullock is set to play 18. So we got him in for 30 now. I mean, those 10 minutes from Elfrid Payton are really the minutes that need to get redistributed somewhere. I just don't know where they get redistributed to. You know what? Maybe I get RJ Barrett to 36. That lets me get Reggie Bullock back up to 32. I think that looks most likely like the real answer here. Like, the problem is I think that I could see Derrick Rose playing more than 32 minutes. That's the real problem. I would not be surprised at all if Obi Toppin is no longer in the rotation. Coming off of a loss, if you're looking to make a change, cutting out the rookie that you don't really play is probably the first spot that I would go. It's just so hard to project Derrick Rose for 36 minutes because of him coming off the bench. You know, if you know that he's not getting that first rotation, what you're saying then is that you think that he plays 36 of the next 42 minutes, which can happen and happened in the last game, but it's really hard because of the different ways that games can go and the rotations you could lose, it's really hard to give him a median minutes projection that high. And he's still projecting as what I think is going to be the best guy on FanDuel. So we'll also see where that ends up. I don't think that I have any real changes that I want to make here. I think we're pretty much good. I don't really trust this Knicks rotation. To me, it's pretty tricky. Because they can go, coming off of a loss, all bets are off. Now, at the same time, I don't get the sense in any past life that Tibbs is like a great guy to make game-to-game changes. But honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if Elfrid Payton is not in the starting lineup today and doesn't play at all. But we're not going to know that until we get closer to lock. So I am going to go with those Payton minutes. But he is the first, to me, the first casualty quickly into the starting lineup. You tweak Rose and quickly. You still want Rose playing like 32 minutes and closing. Whoever has the hot hand between Burks and Bullock is probably the guy that plays north of 30 minutes or can get to 30 minutes. I mean, we saw Burks do it towards the end of the season at least. I think we're okay with where we're at there. Now, if we look at the Knicks, on FanDuel, it's Derrick Rose at the top, 5,900 on FanDuel, 5,900 on DraftKings. Looks like the best Nick on FanDuel. I'd say he's the second best Nick on DraftKings behind Julius Randle. Randle just 9,400 there. If he's playing 40 minutes, you kind of got to take that shot. Noel for 4,500 on FanDuel, 4K on DraftKings. That's going to be a place that people go to for a lot of value, which I think is totally warranted. His minutes are all over the place, though. He could play 34. He could play 20. There's no telling. So perfect GPP option. RJ Barrett would be my number 4 guy overall. And at 6,200 on DraftKings, I think he actually looks pretty damn good. So let's add the Knicks in and see how that hashes out. What do we got here for New York? Okay, so on FanDuel, Randle and Rose pop in 4th and 5th, basically. They're behind Joe Val, Trae Young, and Morant. On DraftKings, though, Randle now the not firm number 3, but he is basically tied with Ja Morant. They are both still behind Joe Val and Trae Young. Joe, good luck to you. I hope you have a good day as well. I'm cool with this. I like more for the Knicks today than I was expecting. This slate's playing out differently than I was originally anticipating. Now, Philly, this one should go pretty easily. I don't think that we're going to have too many question marks here. Just my assumption. I don't believe there's anything that we really need to worry about on the Philly side. So let's go ahead and plug these guys in. I think 34 minutes for Embiid seems spot on. I think we get 36 minutes from Tobias Harris, with the backup run going to not Mike Scott. So I guess we're going to say Thibault gets those 12. We'll go Ben Simmons, 36 minutes. That seems fine. We'll give those backup minutes to... let's work from the front now. So Seth Curry played 32 minutes in game 1. Seems pretty reasonable that he would do the same. If I give Shake those backup minutes, what happens? Who else do I got to give time to? Danny Green gets 30. George Hill gets 18. Korkmaz gets 12. That all makes a ton of sense to me. I don't think we see Maxey again, although he could. Rates should all be basically the same as we would normally expect. But I do want to maybe lock in Embiid, Harris, and Simmons, because I think Shake just naturally falls in a situation like this. So for Philly, now these guys are going to pop because we know what kind of matchup we're getting out of Washington. It's a gigantic pace up spot. So Joel Embiid 10-1 on FanDuel to me is probably my favorite option here. Let's clean that out. Yeah, it's going to be hard not to go to Joel Embiid, at least on FanDuel at the center spot. On DraftKings, I'm liking Ben Simmons and Tobias Harris. I mean, this matchup is just so difficult. I would say that I would want to limit Philly to 2 of 3. I wouldn't want to have Embiid, Simmons, and Harris in a lineup, but I don't think that I would mind having 2 because of how good of a matchup this is. If it happens to stay close, there's just so many extra possessions in this game in comparison to the others. I mean, we're talking about a 230 total here, where every other game is at 219 or 213. I really like those 3 main guys for Philly. I like Danny Green, 4,100 and 4K if you're looking for value, just because I expect him to be out there. Seth Curry to me is overpriced at 4,900 on both sites. I would rather just get to potentially more Danny Green. It's just really difficult to look a different direction than Philly today, especially if the Wizards are like, I mean, look, the Philly line is 8.5. The Jazz line is 8.5. The betting market is saying those 2 games have basically the exact same amount of likelihood of being a problem. So I can't just ignore Philly. So to me, I'm a big fan of the top end of the Sixers today. Which that should go well talking to Laffy in a couple hours. Yeah, do I need to take a closer look at Ben Simmons? I guess I really don't. I mean, people are going to say that I do for sure. But I have Ben Simmons right now in the second, like basically Embiid, Simmons, and Joval are tied on DraftKings. Simmons is smack dab in the middle of those guys. He's second on FanDuel, but he's been at 1.14 fantasy points per minute over the last 30 days. That's exactly where I have him for today in a pace up spot against the Wizards. Like I can't project him for something that he's not. I'm not going to project him for less fantasy points per minute. If we think that he plays less than 36 minutes, I guess that's something we could talk about, but he played 38 in the first game. I think today's a Ben Simmons day, especially on DraftKings at 7,300. Cantor, I know, man, I know, but like the data is there. If that's what he's scoring on a per minute basis, I don't know how to project him at something different. I don't like it. Trust me. I don't like it either. All right, we're on to Utah. Donovan Mitchell, welcome back. I assume he's not going to be limited at all. It would really surprise me. So I think that Donovan Mitchell was sat out by Utah management in the first game because they thought that they can get a freebie. That they thought they would just beat Memphis and you get an extra couple days of Donovan Mitchell for rest. And then that did not happen. So I assume he's playing his like normal-ish run. So I'm giving Donovan Mitchell 33 minutes. Actually, I'm giving Mike Conley 33 minutes. Mitchell gets the backup run. We're giving Rudy Gobert 33 minutes. Backup run straight to Derek Favors. We're going to go... I think this is just... They're going to be like really flat for right now. We'll go 33 there. Gonna get Jordan Clarkson to some sort of amount of minutes. Boyan looks fine at 33. Jingles played 33 in the first game. That was with obviously no Donovan Mitchell. So Let's say 31 there. I think that takes Clarkson back down to his like normal 26. All right. So I'm a little high on minutes somewhere. Otherwise, this is going to make George Niang be a real problem. And I think that Niang needs more minutes. So they need to come from somewhere. Who is the guy that's most likely to take a giant minutes haircut? I'm gonna be a little bit more pessimistic on Mitchell. We're gonna take Ingles to 29 minutes. 8 minus this is why I can't my brain work. 25. There we go. Yeah, I think 7 for Niang is just gonna have to be it. Rates should all just be the same. That's gonna hash itself out. Looking like Rudy Gobert season. Gobert is 8K on FanDuel, 7,700 on DraftKings. All right, I guess the easier way to say that is I like Rudy Gobert the most from the Jazz. I don't think that we're going to be terribly enamored with a lot of Utah. There's just too many cooks in the kitchen here. Royce O'Neal, 4K value on FanDuel, 4,100 on DraftKings. He's probably the guy you get to if you're looking for salary savings. Boyan for 5,600 on FanDuel looks solid. 6,400 on DraftKings, maybe not so much. Utah's a tough sell today, especially because a blowout for Utah probably looks like it happens defensively, which means that they don't necessarily have to go crazy on offense to just limit the Grizzlies, and that's tricky. So I would say, like, I just don't have Rudy Gobert. To me, is like 6 points behind Joel Embiid relative to salary on FanDuel. These guys just aren't grading out all that highly. Mike Conley would be my highest ranked DK guy from the Jazz. To me, that all seems pretty fine. Like, I guess I could give. I'm gonna give Mitchell 1 additional minute, get him to 32, but I don't think it matters. It's just going to be really difficult to prioritize a guy from the Jazz today. The prices are too high, and they're all sort of just competing with each other, and I don't necessarily know who is going to be the guy that takes the minutes jump, because someone's going to play like 2 or 3 more minutes than you would expect, and that's going to be the guy you're going to want. But for right now, I think it's probably Gobert and Conley on DraftKings as my 2 favorite guys. Conley for 6,700 is probably the guy that I want to take a look at the most. All right, let's close this out, guys. 130 viewers, 86 likes. We are dangerously close to that 100 like mark. If you guys can please hit that thumbs up and take us into the triple digits for likes, I would appreciate it greatly. I think that would be a really fun time for all of us. We close it out now with the Washington Wizards. I think we know what's going on here. We're going to get 40 minutes out of Russ. We're going to get 40 minutes out of Bradley Beal. These things are just going to happen. We saw Len play 16 minutes, Lopez play 12, and Gafford play 20 the last time out. So let's make slight adjustments there. Got Bertans in for 29 minutes. I'm going to make that 28. I'm going to give an extra minute to Rui. We saw Neto play 22 minutes. We saw Ish Smith play 22 minutes. I have both of those guys probably over projected. But for right now, I think that that's going to be fine. 24 apiece for both guys. Beal's rates are good. Russ's rates are good. I don't think that we're all that worried about everybody else, which means we know what we're doing with Washington. We're playing Russell Westbrook and Bradley Beal. Russ is 11-6 on FanDuel, 11-4 on DraftKings. He's going to be our number one play for today. Bradley Beal, 9,500 and 8,800 is going to be a very close second. Beal, particularly for 8,800 on DraftKings, is going to look absolutely amazing. I don't really have much else I can say from Washington. We'll see who pops up in the power rankings, but Russell Westbrook and Bradley Beal or Russell Westbrook and Joel Embiid are absolutely tied on FanDuel. I have them relative to salary, the exact same thing. Be interesting to see what kind of lineups you can build if you go to both of them, since they're the only two legit pay up options. On DraftKings, Russ to me is the clear top option. Embiid would be second with Ben Simmons. You get Bradley Beal also coming in fourth. So Russ, Embiid, Simmons, Beal, that entire Wizards Sixers game are making up my top 4 guys, and they make up 5 out of my top 6 on DK. That right there is going to be very, very interesting. If you think that game can stay close, mixing and matching the main 5 guys from Washington and Philly, to me, is the most important thing you can be doing. All right, let us run an optimal on FanDuel, and we'll dig into the logistics of what's going on. So we've got FanDuel projections. Optimal lineup. Russell Westbrook, Ben Simmons, Bradley Beal, Seth Curry, Bojan Bogdanovic, Danny Green, Tobias Harris, Royce O'Neal, Nerlens Noel. Didn't totally expect to see Bojan there, but 4 Sixers in the optimal. You get Russ, you get Beal. You don't get Embiid because paying down for Nerlens Noel is just a little bit easier, but you can go to a lineup that's 0.2 of a point less, and it totally swaps out a ton of it. You change out Russell Westbrook and Ben Simmons for Trae Young and Derrick Rose. You change out Nerlens Noel for Joel Embiid, and then you swap out Bojan Bogdanovic for Rui Hachimura. They're basically the same lineup. Nothing there seems all that wild to me. This, I think, is going to change up the game a little bit. What do we got for power rankings on FanDuel? Yeah, obviously Danny Green is the number 1 guy in the power rankings. That feels super comfortable. But I mean, I don't really have much else to add. Value is value. So power rankings on FanDuel. Danny Green clearly at the top. Royce O'Neal, Tobias Harris, Derrick Rose, Bradley Beal, Russell Westbrook would be the next tier. Then it's a bit of a drop off to Ben Simmons, Jaren Jackson, Seth Curry, Trae Young, Bojan Bogdanovic, Donovan Mitchell, Joel Embiid, and Rui Hachimura. I kind of want to take a position by position look here, because you can kind of figure out like who's reasonable. Rose, Westbrook, Simmons, Trae Young, they're all getting 30+% or more. Ja and Conley slip their way in. Everybody else is in single digits. So you don't want much. Anybody in single digits, you probably don't want to have a lot of. At the shooting guard spot, you get Beal, Curry, Donovan Mitchell third, which I think is an interesting piece to see that doesn't really show up in the power rankings list. Kevin Huerter gets to 20%. Shooting guard is going to be very tricky. See, look at this mess that happens after you get out of that Beal area, where it's like, oh, do I take Bullock or Burks, Joe Ingles? Even Emmanuel Quickly is like sort of close to where you can show up here. This is the area where your bread gets buttered. Who hits in the Huerter, Bullock, Burks, Ingles group? Because that guy is the guy that's going to win you a GPP today. And they're basically like 25% each to be that guy. Small forward, Danny Green hops to the top almost immediately. Bojan second, Rui, Slow-Mo, RJ Barrett, all in this next little bunch. And Boyan, Rui, Slow-Mo, Barrett, they're all four the exact same guys. 5,100 to 6,800. That's a lot like the shooting guard spot. Getting that group of four right is going to be very important. After that, you fall off into the Gallo, Bogdanovich, Hunter. Like, I don't really love that area all that much. At power forward, Royce O'Neal and Tobias Harris separate from the pack. Jaren Jackson's sort of in a third tier. Then we get to Randall and Bertans, maybe a little John Collins. Power forward on FanDuel is, I don't want to say easy, but there really aren't that many options. It's a tighter pack. And then center, Embiid, Gobert, Noel, Joval, Capella, probably the only guys that you can reasonably roster. The rest of the guys that you'd be getting, whether that's Len, Howard, Favors, Lopez, those guys would be randomness, sub 5%ers. But I think that looks pretty good. I think this will be interesting to see. For people that wanted to play Simmons, Harris, and Embiid, you lock those guys in, you get 290.1 as the top score you can have. And if you don't lock those guys, you're only off by 1.5. So you can get to Simmons, Harris, and Embiid. I just don't think it's the best allocation of salary. So I would probably be setting a max 2 of 3 on those guys. I think it's just going to look a little bit better for your lineup construction. From a salary perspective, it's just really hard for 3 high salary guys to pay off their price tags. Like if we sort this, you can sort of make that same case for like Trae Young, Clint Capella, Bogdanovich, but I don't think that they're going to be showing up all that frequently. Memphis doesn't have that same sort of issue with like a really high price guy, but you probably only want 2 of Joval, Morant, and Brooks, especially given they're like the 3 biggest usage guys too. Someone probably fails in that mess. And it's probably a case of if you have Joval, you probably don't want, you probably only want one of Morant and Brooks. Joval can get there because of rebounds. On the Knicks, you don't have that salary issue. You definitely have it for Philly. You kind of have it on Utah for Gobert, Mitchell, and Conley. And then finally for Washington, you just don't have that issue. All right, so that's FanDuel. Let's go check out DraftKings, see what we've got going on here. Optimal lineup on DK. Nope, that's not what I wanted to do. All right, optimal lineup on DraftKings. Oh, and we got to 100 likes. Thank you, guys. All right, here we go. Ben Simmons, Bradley Beal, Danny Green, Tobias Harris, Nerlens Noel, Trae Young, RJ Barrett, and Royce O'Neal. That all looks fine to me. Nothing too crazy. Don't love going to Royce O'Neal, but I understand why it happens, particularly in a cash game. You can drop down 1/10 of a point, turn Trae Young into Derrick Rose. Nope, you turn RJ Barrett into Derrick Rose. Fair enough. Fair enough. Power rankings for DraftKings. Let's do it. All right, what do we got coming out? Well, it's going to be a Danny Green season, apparently. Ben Simmons also looking pretty darn good on DK. Danny Green, Ben Simmons, Tobias Harris, potentially the top 3 plays on DraftKings after this sim is done. It's going to be close. It's going to be close. One behind Rose. So Ben Simmons, Danny Green, Derrick Rose, Tobias Harris, Nerlens Noel, Trae Young, Royce O'Neal, Bradley Beal, Mike Conley, Jaren Jackson, Alec Burks, Russell Westbrook, Taj Gibson, and Seth Curry. That rounds out the power rankings on DraftKings. Shout out to Freudian Slip for the super chat. Said, maybe I'm wrong, but it feels like every time Embiid has a big fantasy day, Simmons and Harris underperform and vice versa. Yeah, that's just going to be the case for just about anybody with a high salary. It's really hard for 3 high salary guys to outperform their salary in regulation. There's just not enough possessions. there's a finite amount of fantasy points that you can get. So the more that you start allocating to the top of your salary tier, the less that you can give to that second and third banana. It makes it really difficult to pay up. Back when Nurkic used to be really expensive, like setting a rule of max 2 of 3 on those Portland guys was just a no-brainer. It's just really, really difficult for all three of those guys to get there. Now, Simmons, Embiid, and Harris are in a unique spot in that they don't really overlap in skill set too much. Like Harris can get there in raw points. Embiid can have a good scoring day plus some rebounds and then block a bunch of shots. And then Simmons can get there with blocks, steals, rebounds, assists, and minimal amounts of scoring. So they do work together pretty well in that regard, but I still think getting to only 2 of 3 is probably the more logical scenario. Finally, let's close it out. We'll give a little bit back to the Yahoo people. So let's figure out what the Yahoo optimal is. And that would be Ben Simmons, Seth Curry, Derrick Rose, Bradley Beal, Tobias Harris, Jaren Jackson Jr., Nerlens Noel, and Ja Morant showing up. We also have the exact same lineup, 270.1, where we turn Nerlens Noel into Joval and Bradley Beal into Kyle Anderson. That's interesting. Very interesting change there. Yahoo Power Rankings, and then we're going to get out of here. Another day in the books. Another 3-game slate, which is awesome. I think we've got one on Thursday and on Friday again as well. Then they're going to go away for a while. All right. Power rankings on Yahoo. Seth Curry, Jaren Jackson Jr. Ooh, crazy. That one's scary. Ben Simmons, Tobias Harris, Derrick Rose, Joval, Ja Morant, Nerlens Noel, Bradley Beal, Kyle Anderson, Reggie Bullock, John Collins, Dylan Brooks, and Rudy Gobert. Jay the Football Nerd, I will start doing the optimals for showdowns on slates that are smaller than this, but I'm not going to prioritize a showdown on a 3-gamer. We've got a legit slate here today. But that will be something that I'll be doing in the near future. Am I going to be back on Tuesday? I'll be back on every day, man. Well, every day except for Saturday and Sunday. And honestly, not out of the realm of possibility I do something Saturday. Wife's going out of town. She's off to the Coca-Cola 600 this weekend. So I'm going to have some free time Saturday. I got to get up and I got the gym Saturday morning at 8, which means that maybe we could do something Saturday morning. Make up for missed time. I think we'll see. We'll see where we're at. So I'm going to be up at the butt crack of dawn on Saturday. But either way, that's it, guys. I think we're done. Yeah. Hey, William, I realize Monday's Memorial Day. There's no holidays in DFS, man. No days off. We work Christmas. So don't worry, man. I'll be here Monday morning. There's basketball, right? I assume there's basketball. I haven't looked at the schedule yet, but let me look. Saturday, Sunday. Yeah. We've got Game 4, Sixers, Wizards. Game 4, Jazz, Grizzlies on Monday. So I will be here for Monday breaking down those 2 games. And we'll dig into the more individual stuff. But yeah, there's no rest for Memorial Day in the DFS industry, at least not at Awesemo.com. Nothing's changing for us. We're going to have plenty of content. I normally work aggressively over Memorial Day weekend. I other than 2020, which would have been obviously COVID Memorial Day, that was the first Memorial Day that I have ever spent with my wife. How crazy is that? We met in 2009. I have never seen her on a Memorial Day weekend ever prior to last year for COVID. And we'll be right back to it again this year. She spends every single Memorial Day weekend in Charlotte at the Coca-Cola 600. So, yeah, I'll be getting back to that tradition now that COVID's over. But anyway, guys, I appreciate having you all here. We got to well north of 120 viewers. We got to north of 100 likes. It's the playoffs. This is a 3-game slate. You guys are getting up at 6:30 in the morning or potentially earlier, depending on where you guys live, to hang out with me in the morning. And I love it. I love breaking it down like this. It puts me out onto the perfect start for the day. So I think we're packing it in. Thank you very much for being here. If you're watching this later, please hit that like button on your way out the door. Contenders videos to come, strategy show coming up, and then live before lock tonight with Greg Ehrenberg. Should be a fun one. Good luck tonight, everybody. Thank you for being here. Have a great Wednesday. I will talk to you guys again tomorrow morning.